What's up, guys? My name's Cam.
And my name is Joel, and welcome to another episode of Sports from Gutter, where we're talking sports stuff.
Isaiah Thomas. His injury is looking a lot more worse than everybody thought it was. What are your thoughts on this, Joel?
I had said that it was going to be a lot.
You did. And
yeah,
that was,
you
that was
were totally knocking
thing.
it down. You were like, nah, he's good, man. He's good. And I was like, nah, like that's a pretty big problem.
Before I read anything about, his injury could be a problem, you're over here like,
yeah,
yo, his injury could be a problem. I'm like, nah, he's fine.
Yeah, you were totally like
I was so
full-blown Isaiah Thomas defense mode. And I was like, nah, that could be
I told you,
problem.
it was not until I played in this charity basketball tournament where we were completely being held back by this like 5'2" guy that it hit me that, Isaiah Thomas is a complete liability on defense. And I didn't want to accept it because, there's other guards that are lazy on defense.
Yeah, like we mentioned Kyrie, he's not a great defender, but that 4 or 5 inches, that makes a difference.
Yeah, they pretty much just try to like get screens, like get him on rotation, just take advantage of that mismatch.
And it's not just inches, it's weight wise too. Like that's an extra 20, 30 pounds maybe. So you can push him around a lot easier. Like, not to go against Isaiah's toughness, we know like he's probably the toughest player in the game. But when it comes down to like when he's held back by fouls, and especially in the playoffs when they start like letting things slide a lot more, that's when he's at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, like if I'm LeBron and I have Isaiah Thomas there, I might have him come off the bench
and let D Rose come in.
D Rose,
yeah. I'm really excited to see D Rose on the Cavs actually.
Do you think this is gonna be like his chance to kind of just turn everything, prove all the haters wrong?
It could be, but the big problem also is the whole 3-point game where he still is lacking that 3-point shot. Kyrie had that 3-point shot, but I'm still excited to see him with LeBron, and I feel like he, now with that small contract, he's gonna feel like the need to really go above and beyond. I'm pretty excited though.
I'm pretty excited. What are your projections for the
Cavaliers? If Isaiah comes back healthy and like ready to go, see, like that's really what it comes down to, because there were talks that he might not be back into the All-Star game.
Yeah, until February, from what I read.
Yeah, there was that. But then, what was it? Jeff Green off the Cavs. He was like saying that, like, don't listen. Like, if Isaiah says he's good to go, he'll be good to go, kind of thing.
I read the details about the injury because I know about it, but I didn't read the actual like. It's pretty bad. Not only did he just like take contact on the hit, but then somebody what was his name? Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah,
fully just fell on his back while he was on, like he was face down on the floor.
When was this?
I think it was like around in March.
Oh, so that added on to the injury.
That was exactly.
Okay.
So that's what made it as bad as it was, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, he's
that
a pretty
alone,
big dude
honestly,
too.
Like you said, you don't want to knock his toughness, but he's human at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And it's, Karl Anthony Towns falling on Isaiah Thomas. It's like,
yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It was Colin Cowherd. I remember he was one that was really drilling it home about that whole thing. Like, you're getting a star who's 5'9", he's 29. You're gonna have to offer him that max contract right now after he's coming off a hip injury. It's not the best move, like if you're the Celtics. Like, we talked about that whole loyalty thing and everything like that, but after a certain point you are a business. Like, that's we've talked about this before. Like, players should have no loyalty towards teams for the most part, and teams should have no loyalty towards players for the most part.
Right. Everybody should respect that it is a business at this point.
You just have to look at what's the best interest for you. And if the Celtics, they keep Isaiah, they're gonna have to give him that max contract next season. This way they get Kyrie, who's like 3 years younger, seems healthy, ready to go. He wants his own team. He's hungry. So for right now, if Isaiah comes back, the Cavaliers won that trade because they're most likely going to end up in the finals again, I think. But in the future, because there's a likelihood that LeBron leaves, I would say that the Celtics win later on.
See, I can't agree with that. Only because I feel like the Celtics team still isn't strong enough at all. They're not deep at all. Like, their bench is horrible.
Yeah,
honestly.
But I feel like that'll eventually be added on though, because if you think about it, also next year, there's a good chance, 2019, there's a good chance that Klay Thompson leaves the Warriors because of the whole salary cap thing and all that stuff. So I think later on down the road, they'll be there.
So if you're looking at it like because
they're most likely going to re-sign Kyrie. I don't
think the Celtics are getting to the Eastern Conference Finals.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Who else? The Wizards, you think are going to beat them?
Wizards, I definitely think are going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals over the Celtics.
Who did they add? Did they add anyone?
I don't think so. I just think that they're going.
So I still think the Celtics will make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I do think what you said, that's a big point, because that's what they were saying when Isaiah was still on the team. It was like, we kind of lost some pretty big bench players, so that's going to be an issue.
And they lost, their perimeter defender and their
Jay Crowder is a pretty big loss right there.
It was a great game for the Cavs because that was something they were missing. They needed perimeter defense, like a defender, and then they also needed help. They needed shooters around LeBron, obviously, so that they got 2 birds with 1 stone with that trade. Plus Isaiah Thomas, not the best health of his life, but it's still Isaiah Thomas. He can put up points, at will pretty much. So, I think it was a good look for the Cavs, and I still think they're going to the finals. But at this point, like everybody's saying, it's not enough to beat the Warriors, honestly. The Warriors are pretty much just untouchable for the next, year or two, honestly.
Yeah, because they have a lot of good things going for them, especially the pressure off of losing last season. So that's completely off of them. And
plus, they just added Caspi and Nick Young. Yeah. It's crazy. They made their team better. So
the Cavs, there's talks that they might trade that number 1 pick. Well, not number 1 pick, but the first round pick. Lottery,
hopefully.
Do you think that's a good idea?
It depends what they're trying to get. If they're trying to get another point, if they're trying to get another guard, I can understand it. Or if they're just trying to get some young talent to build around once LeBron leaves, because it's kind of like taboo at this point because LeBron. Did he officially say that he was leaving or something like that? No, it's
still not confirmed yet.
He's never clearly said it. So
that's the big issue.
A lot of stuff just floating around. It's a lot of what ifs and ifs, a lot of stuff like that. So you can't really make moves based on if LeBron leaves, but you kind of do have to prepare because if LeBron leaves, that's, detrimental to the team.
If I know that he's leaving, I'm keeping that pick because there's a good chance you're getting a good player in this draft.
But if he's staying, you trade away that pick and try to get more players that's beneficial to help out LeBron.
There's been talks of DeMarcus Cousins, maybe Anthony Davis, something like that. That would be if they get Anthony Davis, that'd be flawless.
That's a team to compete with the Warriors.
Yeah,
right
that is pretty scary. But it comes down to is LeBron going to stay? So I don't know. If I'm them, and it's a big issue with LeBron because I don't know if you heard about this. Going back before Kyrie got traded, there was a deal going ahead where it was going to be Paul George and Bledsoe. They were going to be traded to the Cavs. But, Kyrie would have to be traded and some other players. But they wanted LeBron to commit. Hey, we'll make this deal as long as he commits to staying here. And he couldn't commit. So that's why they never made that deal.
Oh, I knew about the whole trade, but I didn't know that was dependent on if LeBron was going to be committed or not. And that's crazy because if he was willing to be committed, then it seems like he's tired of the front office and he's not tired of Cleveland, obviously, but he's tired of the front office. But you can't blame him because during the offseason, they were kind of lax. They weren't making a lot of moves.
They were having so many issues with who's going to be our general manager, that whole thing.
How do you feel about Tyronn Lue as a coach?
That's another thing that people are pointing to why LeBron might want to leave. Not because he doesn't like Tyronn Lue, but because it's he's never gotten a chance to play for a great coach.
Exactly.
It's hard to say because we've talked about before, David Blatt was on a verge of having another great season. Sure they weren't pounding on teams, but it's not like Tyronn Lue, they did amazing. Sure, they won the finals, but it's could they have done the same with David Blatt? It's still early to tell. And the Cavaliers, they've always been that clear Eastern Conference favorite for the most part. So I don't know.
What do you think was the biggest factor in David Blatt leaving? Because it's always been a weighing on my mind. Maybe LeBron wanted to play. He didn't want to play under a non-black coach.
That's.
I've always thought about that, and it'd be crazy if that was the whole case.
That would be pretty bad.
I don't want to take orders from somebody.
That would look really bad on his image right there too.
100%. Yeah, look bad. You can't look at it that way. Yeah, honestly, and it'd be crazy.
I thought you were going to say he just wants to be his own coach, but you went really deep on that one.
I don't want to listen to this guy.
Yeah, Black Twitter probably love LeBron even more, but but no, that would look really bad on his image. Do you think? Why do you think that though?
I don't know. It just gave me that kind of vibe. They had a pod. They were definitely above 500. 13 games above 500 or something like that. At the point where they fired him, it was halfway through the season. They were pretty much steamrolling teams.
There was a lot of controversy about it because it's like, why are teams allowed to do this? Especially when you're the first in the Eastern Conference and you're getting fired, like who's safe kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That was crazy to me. So that was the only thing at that moment that I could think of. Like, did they just not want to play under a non-black coach? And honestly,
do you think also it could have been because there's a white coach, but there's also like the European coaches. It's like a whole different kind of dude.
He did come from he came from a successful European team at that, definitely successful, and he was successful, of course, because he had LeBron. But was it because he had LeBron that he was successful, or was it because he was a really good coach?
Yeah,
he had success in Euro, but that doesn't always necessarily translate to NBA, obviously. So, it's crazy, honestly. I think that if LeBron wanted to play under a successful coach, I could see him going to not a successful coach, but a really good coach. I could see him going to the Clippers if he wanted to go to LA, just because he could play under Doc Rivers
and still be in LA.
And now Doc Rivers, of course, isn't the GM also, so he's literally just a coach. He's literally just handling the players, the day-to-day stuff. So he can be more focused on coaching. He doesn't have to wrap his mind around GM duties and things like that.
Yeah, which I never thought was a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
It just seems like way too much pressure
on his plate, honestly. Yeah. So, I think the Clippers right now, they're in need of LeBron, honestly. So if he wanted to leave after the next season, then, that would be a good destination for him. If that was the case, if it was a coaching thing, of course, me being a Lakers fan, I would love to see him in LA.